Well, thank you for joining in on episode 21. And we wanted to actually put these on video on YouTube because it's really nice if you're listening to this on iHeart or
Apple or
Apple,
Google
yeah, whichever
platform.
streaming service or podcast streaming service you're listening to. You can watch us on YouTube, and the reason we do that because there's a lot of times while we're chatting we can stick in, we meaning Dylan, as part of our big team here, relevant B-roll. So when we're talking about the Big Eight in Wisconsin, Dylan will put video of the Big Eight, and if we're talking about a certain seed blend, we can show that. Certain stand locations on the property, drone footage, we can show that.
All the good stuff.
Yeah. So a little bit more of an enhanced podcast, or you can just listen like every other podcast. It doesn't
Whatever
really
you
matter,
want to
but
do.
yeah, whatever you want to do. But we are at episode 21, and like a lot of businesses, it takes a lot of people to run the business. And I've gone from '05 where I had 4 clients, '06 had 10 clients, and then '07 had 30 some clients, and then 50 some clients since. And during that entire process, started from $500 a day to $4,000 a day for my services. And I found quickly at $500 a day, you can't make a living. When you figure in travel of about $300 a day, and most people, there's only a few of us that could command 50 plus clients a year, anyways. And so, even if you look at 100 clients, literally $500 a day, you end up with 20,000 a year, and just with expense and travel and everything else, it's just ridiculous. You couldn't even come close to making a living. So, at the same time, and we talk about this with the guys down here, Joe, Kevin, West, Dylan, the go to clients. We're going to clients, we have to be efficient. And so we try to keep our price down as much as possible. For example, I don't charge $10,000, $8,000 because I don't need 3 days per client. I need an average of 1 day. You could figure out 1 and a 10th day or somewhere on there because I have to travel on the front side, back side. But a lot of times I'm traveling on the same day to get home. And so really we stay in one hotel and go out from there, or stay at the house, go out from there, and try to make it very efficient. You can imagine back in the day, I was in like Alpena, northeast Michigan, southern Michigan, down to central Indiana, over to western Illinois, back up to Wisconsin, and then back up to the UP where I started this business. And
Sounds like you need a helicopter.
I
Or back
did.
then.
Well, and there was times where I slept 2 hours in a hotel, 4 hours. One of the records was I was on the way from Tennessee to south central New York, traveling from one to the other. The Tennessee client ran long. It was a 2 day client. And somewhere in Pennsylvania, I was super tired. And I stopped and got a hotel for a half hour. I shaved, showered in like 10 minutes. And I literally set the alarm for 20 minutes, got a 20-minute snooze, and was back on the road. And
That's miserable.
it was horrible. Just the travel was really bad. You got wore out. Now I try to take a day off in between. Bottom line efficiency, and that's where we have this team of people. We kind of wanted to go over, our company, and a lot of you want to get into the whitetail business, hunting industry, and we just want to talk about what it takes with our little company right here, and some of the background names that help us greatly and what they do. There's a chance we might even take on interns this year. It's getting a little bit late for that, but we always have that thought. We could use a lot more help, and some interns would be great. We actually get contacted by 15, 20 potential interns a year, hoping that we have an internship available. So maybe someday soon. What do you think, Jen?
We could always use more help.
Yeah, we can. And, along with that, more help, you're more help. When you
Oh,
came on
thank
board,
you.
when you came on board, I tell people, Jen she was the GM at a local power sports dealership for 7 years, ran the whole day-to-day operations, all the numbers, people, hiring, firing, all that kind of stuff. She answered to the owner, Rod, and that was about it. And so, I don't know, between both dealerships, there's like 35, 40 employees, something like that.
Yeah, I would say so.
And
Quite
I
a
was
large operation for a small business.
Yes, yeah, and they would go through a lot of sales a year. You were responsible for millions of dollars, yeah, a year, and just the smallest incremental percentage would mean failure or success for that year,
I
profit
would.
or loss. And so really important. And I often tell people I couldn't have afforded to ever hire Jen. So, you come on board with a lot of background, your degree. You have a degree,
I sure do.
tell
My
us about that.
degree is in criminal justice with a minor in legal studies, which I am doing nothing with. However,
You weren't at the dealership
I
either.
wasn't at the dealership
And that's the
either.
same thing with a lot of degree.
But
And
it was one thing where I learned a lot of things when I was going to college, and they're invaluable things that I believe I got my money's worth in my education
sure,
based on what I learned. Even if I'm not doing something with my degree, I would have never learned how to talk to people without going to school and having to go through certain things to be able to learn how to do some of those things. A lot of the things
it's
you're able
interesting.
to
You
do on your own.
some of those
But
life skills,
yeah.
and not everyone needs those. Some of my life skills. I started in banking when I was 20, and I can remember waiting on those first customers, and that wasn't my first job. But for 6 months, I worked in the proof department, back office at night with a bunch of ladies. They were awesome to work with. But I went out in the branches and really uncomfortable
Hmm.
talking to people and have them come up and tell them about their accounts, open new accounts. But eventually, forced myself to do that. Worked my way up to a branch manager of a bigger branch, and then I went to
And
another
in a
bank.
way,
And
we were doing the same thing.
yes, we
I
were.
was being graded with standing up in front of people and talking and interacting with other people, and how I how I managed certain projects, and you were graded on the same thing. And the
Right.
difference was either I got A's, B's, or C's, or you got a promotion in your job that you were
Right,
working
and that's
with.
where the bank they hired within. And I remember a lot of the job listings that they had. They would mention 4-year degree or equivalent work experience, and they usually hired equivalent work experience because they couldn't afford failure. They couldn't afford to say, okay, this person has a 4-year degree. We're just going to stick them in the branch. Well, they didn't know anything about banking. They didn't know anything
Right.
about customer interaction, the vault, the responsibility of money, the responsibility of employees. So they couldn't do that. They had to hire within and promote within, and so you had to keep your nose clean, work hard,
Right. I think
and move up.
part of that too can go back to episode 20, where we talk about the vast experience that you have in teaching people, and the experience that Dylan, Kevin, Joe, Wes has that we'll talk about in this one.
Yeah.
So it all kinds of ties together.
And kind of like going through, I want you guys to meet some of these people. At least we're talking about them, and get to know them through us and kind of how they contribute to the business. And if you're looking at this and you think, well, I want to have like I said, a hunting industry company. If you want to do what we do, then we'll talk about this. But I can tell you from day one, it was me by myself, and it was me by myself when I wrote my first book in 2012. So that's from '05 to 2012. And when I wrote that first book in 2012, folks, I was 42 years old already. So this wasn't something that, hey, I'm 25, just graduated from college, I have this, knowledge in my head from school, and I'm going to start a career. It was, right from day
Well,
one.
you took all
I didn't
those
have a
years
team.
prior to to work on that experience portion
Right,
of it.
and a
Then you were
lot.
able to write a
And the funny
book.
thing was, I worked on all that experience without knowing that I needed that experience for a future career.
Right.
So, it was for a love and passion of everything I do, and that's what this was, kind of born into, and what we morphed into. Now, you, tell folks a little bit about what you do. I mean, what's your favorite thing to do on a daily basis?
Um, I want to be outside. So when it's warm out, when it's cold right now, it's tough to do anything outside, and it's tough to do anything when I'm pregnant, at
Yeah,
least at this stage. But I love to be outside. When Jeff's on
yeah,
his client trip, I think Jackson goes to daycare, and the rest of my day is spent outside doing the things I can do by myself without any supervision.
right,
But being outdoors, doing stuff outside, doing stuff with family is really important. It's a really important thing to you and I.
right.
So I would. And then
What's your least favorite?
my least favorite is to do the numbers,
Oh,
and not to say when it's my favorite, but the least favorite. It's probably sitting in front of the computer. But the numbers are a way that we can measure success in the business.
Well, and they're important.
They
And
are.
and I can say that I understood the numbers to a certain extent, and I could figure it out pretty quick. But there's a lot of things that you started with that were important. Net profit margin
Yeah.
was a big one,
Average shipping, stuff like
and
that.
and the shipping is on a daily basis
It
because
is.
the shipping costs are always changing, and you can't just plug it in because we've talked about before. Someone buys a bag of 20-pound bag of switchgrass,
Hmm.
and they're going to pay X amount in shipping, and it's a lot because you pay a lot for just the base to send something to somebody. And so that base is and I look at it in real estate terms because I was a real estate appraiser for 11 years in between there and overlapping with this business. But when you have a building site, the cost for 10 acres is higher than 40 because if you're just looking at 40 and looking at 10, unless it's commercial property, there's only one building site on that 10 acres. There's one building site that someone's considering on that 40. So the building site is X, and then every acre after that, people talk about a per acre price. And until you have that larger acreage size, you can't really realistically look at an acre price, what
Which
that
makes
value is.
sense.
And it's similar with our seed costs and shipping to me because you have a certain amount built in to just ship it out the door,
Hmm.
boxing, taping, the activity of actually doing that. That's an expense. Wes, who we'll talk about in a little bit, but then at the same time, the shipping cost. And so we see, I mean, it's amazing. You look at per dollar cost, someone who spends $3,000 on a seed order, their per dollar shipping cost is going to be much lower than someone buying a bag of switchgrass, a 20-pound bag of switchgrass,
Right.
per pound or however you want to look at it. So what we try to do is almost rob from the rich, give to the poor a little bit to where we give deals to someone that's buying a lot of seed, but at the same time we try to not hammer the person that's buying just one bag as much as we can because
Right.
we want people to experience seed blends. We want to protect the little guy too.
Right. And with last year being our first full year, I'll call it, with all of our blends, we were able to look at all of these numbers throughout all year long. And then this year, we're having our web people, which we'll talk about in a little bit. They're actually doing a lot of work and making it a lot less expensive for
More
people to
streamlined.
exactly get
Yeah.
their seed shipped to exactly where they are.
Well, you and Wes too, you guys are constantly, I don't know if it's more you or Wes, but you guys are constantly looking at shipping options because we used Speedy last year.
Yeah.
Now, our Speedy guy wasn't overly easy to work with.
That's excited about what we're doing. Like, we're always so happy and excited when he come or when people come over, and then when you're a Debbie Downer, we're like, get out of here.
Or I can remember times, the one time I'm going up to the pole building that day to get the side by side, and I'm opening the door, and the side by side's blocking the door, and the Speedy guy just happens to come up, and he's like, "What are you doing blocking the?" He said something about blocking the door, and I'm like, "Hey, buddy, this is my life. The pole building isn't just for seed. You can wait your turn." I get
Hold
kind of
on.
like, I'm in a good mood, can't wait to go do some work, and someone that's there for 5 seconds with a bad attitude wants to tell me what to do. That's just not happening on
But
my own
with bad
grounds.
attitudes come good attitudes. And our mail lady, Betty,
Well, we fired the Speedy guy.
we fired him. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, we fired
basically, I don't tolerate idiot posters, and then I don't commenters, things like that, because we're there to have a constructive discussion, and to me, that's what I want to protect on this channel. And anybody we work with, it's the same way too. You have a negative
Yeah.
attitude, you're out the door. But we save money by
Yeah.
going to Betty.
A little bit. It's probably about the same. However,
Yeah.
with Betty, we can ship all across the country if we want to.
Right.
With Speedy, we couldn't. And
Our
we,
United States Postal Service
yes. And so
employee.
and we really
Betty.
enjoy Betty. And
Yeah.
over the years, she's become a friend. When she delivers our mail, she comes and stands in our house sometimes for a half hour, 45 minutes. Maybe I shouldn't say that on this podcast. She talks
that's
to
on her
us for
break time.
5 minutes when she's
Yeah.
working, but when
Yeah.
she's on her break, she spends more time with us.
Right. Right. But yeah, it's that shipping is constant,
Right.
and we try to work out the best. Even UPS, we've hit them over and over again.
And they've given us discounts. We did that again in fall. requesting for them to look at our account again after we had this big
Yep.
year, and they put us on a different program again. And so, of course, we will continue to do that and continue to do that to make sure that shipping is as inexpensive as it can possibly be for our customers by
And
seed.
that was a problem with our previous supplier because they felt, they felt like they had a relationship with the UPS drivers,
Or, yeah, loyalty
a
to.
loyalty to them. And so, whether it was beating down the price with UPS or considering going with Speedy, like Speedy lowered our cost to about 60% of what UPS was for certain states. And so we wanted in 60, 70%. Is that accurate?
I would say so.
And so we went with Speedy because that saved our customers, not us, it saved our customers lots of money. And 60, 70%, 30% off, 40% off, whatever it
Yeah, we
was.
were able to adjust our.
And it was faster.
Yeah, we were able to
Some of
adjust our
those.
shipping to make it a little bit less across
Right.
the board for everybody. But like I said, this year is going to be different where when you type in your address and it's not up right now, it'll probably be up, I would say, end of this month, first beginning of March, where when you type in your address, it's going to go from where the seed is being shipped out to your address, and it's going to be a streamlined price of, hey, this is what it's going to cost, and that's what you're going to pay.
Right. So, all that being said, you came to the business with a lot of background to help the business, but at the same time, you're a huge hunter, outdoors woman. The first thing you said, your favorite thing to do. That's why I wanted to ask that is you like to be outside working.
Right.
And so that's a big part of it too. And if you look at that list there, Jesse does not work outside. Taran works outside, but on his own stuff. He's outside all the time. Of course, Joe, Kevin, Wes, myself, Jen. I think Jesse's the only one that really doesn't work, outside
But her husband Aaron is immersed in the
in the hunting industry.
industry.
Yeah, for various reasons. And he's he's a close friend and loves hunting, turkey hunting, fishing, ice fishing, boating,
Whitetails.
fishing, whitetails, yeah, all that kind of stuff. But so your role in the company, you're really overseeing the numbers, and also what you're doing too is we can come up with a name of a certain seed blend together. I have to come up with the description. I have to come up with the planning instructions. But then you put all those together and get it to and you coordinate that with our seed people and look
Right.
at the labels to say, yeah, this is approved or not approved. Sometimes I look at those, but
Jeff's
for the
the
most part,
brainchild behind it.
well,
And
the
then-
experience behind it.
Right. And then the rest of us put all of his experience pieces together to make it look pretty.
Yeah, and that's where we kind of go over here. We have, part of our team, the printer, the web folks, Joel and the seed company, graphic design. Joel's a big part of that seed. The seed business is a big portion of our business, and what Joel does sits at the kitchen table. We literally go over every seed that goes in every blend, and compared to our previous supplier, I gave him all that experience. I helped build those seed blends, yes or no on these blends. This is what you add, this is what you don't. Oh, but so much different when I can look at a bag and this is the seed that goes in, this is what doesn't, and even then, it keeps up with our changes because I'm always mixing and changing seed blends and experimenting every year. So that immediately goes into the seed blend, not a conversation 3 years from now like, hey, this is what I've been doing, and and not changing things.
And with Joel, he has a vast background in agronomy.
Right.
And this has been his career his whole life.
For a long time, over 20 years, 25 years.
So he's seen a lot of people experiment too. So there's a lot of times where the questions that you ask him, even sometimes he's like, oh, let me ask about that one, or let me
Yeah.
see, let me look at this seed or this variety. So, even with him, you can stump him a little bit, but he's so great to work with.
Right.
So knowledgeable.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I can see what I want, but I don't know what it is, as far as a certain variety.
Right.
And Joel will say, let me find it for you. And then he'll come back with some options and we'll talk about it. Some would call it reinventing the wheel, but I call it constantly evolving. And so there's no perfect blend. And like with our previous supplier, the wheel, I invented the wheel.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, with what we were doing in that little limited area. So that wheel always has to evolve. You can't play catch up 5 years down the road. And that's where, just really quick, with the seed company, we get to interview over 300 clients a year between Kevin, Joe, Dylan, Wes, and I. And really for myself, it's been as many as 125 a year. That's a good hour conversation about food plots and about what's worked for them, what hasn't, and then let alone an hour of this is what we're going to do, and recording it at the end of the day and giving them a prescription based on their equipment, their land, their resources, their deer herd, their soil, and looking at that times, over 1,500 people now for me personally. But that goes into that, and then you get that to the seed company, and so the numbers, coordinating with the seed company, shipping, and helping out on the property. Am I forgetting anything?
I'm sure you, well,
I'm probably forgetting a lot, but
well,
well, we're not counting Jackson, the household, and
or
everything
keeping
else.
you
But
alive. Or,
yeah, yeah, that too. And then that brings up Jesse. Now, who is Jesse? Well, Jesse's that back person. If you're a client, you would have talked to Jesse because Jesse does all our scheduling. It was there was a time. It was let me think here, 2013 December, and I would call all my own clients and schedule them. So calling clients, actually back up, it was 2012. So it's 2012 December, early December, and I remember a Saturday because I remember specifically my friends, Dave and Adam at the time, and Jim. They wanted me to come over and see if I wanted to pull down stands in Minnesota, and I'm like, I can't. I got to work all day. So it was a Saturday, and I remember calling 10 clients, booked 8, and I was on the phone for right around 10 hours. And that was scheduling. And so, and you can imagine all the people I talked to for 2 hours that were just fishing for information. And they say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to book in May. Let's work out a date to get off the phone," and never hear from them. And so, move up to Jesse. Jesse fields about, let's just say, 10,000 emails a year,
it's a lot.
and from there, she gets seed questions to Wes or you,
Mm-hmm.
which sometimes make their way to me, but the more we do this, a lot of those questions don't make it to me. We have so many people, hey, can you help me with this? Can you give me your opinion on this? Jesse has a nice letter form to send back that we can't do that, of course.
We
We
try to
just don't
help
have the
as much as
time.
we can.
Yeah, we try to answer comments, but people say, well, we just want a quick phone call. We had to block somebody, but just a quick phone call. And we can't do that. We don't have time for a phone call. Now, if Wes is working with a particular seed customer that is buying, Wes would talk to them maybe, depending on if they need a phone call or not. And that would be based on his time too. We don't have lots of employees that are sitting at the Wes. We have Wes and you for
Yeah,
seed.
that's
That's
it.
it.
And
And
when we have, when we have to put 80 to 100 orders out the door in a day, I don't know if I want to say unfortunately or fortunately, but when Wes gets up and does farm chores, we'll talk
at
about that in a
4:30 in
little
the
bit,
morning, yeah,
and then he's here right after that, and especially when we're busy.
around
There's
around
times
8,
there's
7:30 to 8
I was gonna
somewhere.
say there's been times where we've seen him up there at 6 a.m. because we're
Yes.
so busy.
Yeah.
My point is, we don't have time to talk to people on the phone that day.
Well, not about just, hey, how's it doing stuff,
Right.
or hey, what do you think about my land? People will call the seed company, and you'll get questions too. This is my land. This is my soil. Where should I put my food plots? And what should I plant? How many acres? Well, that's a couple hour conversation as part of an overall plan too,
Sure.
in a day long client visit. And so for us to do that, I can't stand. You can always tell folks, if you want someone who's disingenuous, if you want to pick them out online, if they say, "What should I plant for my food plot?" and someone just throws out, "Hey, this, you got to plant this. It's the best." They're hurting you more than they're helping you. They're being very disingenuous. Maybe they don't have the experience to know better, but you can't have what one neighbor could plant could be drastically different than another neighbor.
Way
So
different.
so we try to help people where it doesn't cross that line that we're just telling people to buy something, to the point where if they say, well, I'm not going to buy from you because you're not designing my plan over the phone, we just won't design the plan
And
over
we've
the
had
phone, and we
people
don't.
say that. I'm not going to buy seed from you if you can't tell me what stuff to plant. And it's like they don't understand that the amount of questions and the amount of hours sometimes that it takes to diagnose exactly what you can plant here and what is
Right.
going to be the best for your property.
Well, and that's where Jesse comes in.
Yep.
See, before we'd have 10,000 emails come in, and we'd field about, we meaning, anybody that was helping in the business would field about 500 to schedule clients, and the rest would go by the wayside. And now we don't want any email unanswered, and that is a big part of Jesse's, what she does. Now, Jesse also schedules clients not only for myself, but for Dylan and Wes and Kevin. Joe, he's his own animal.
He sure is.
He
wants to handle it on his own,
which is
great.
awesome because he is on top of it. He's in that world where calling and cold calling, and that's what he does. And so last year, and it's interesting because Dylan went to roughly 60 different clients, about 80 days in the field. Joe was at about 52 clients and 71 or 2 days in the field, something like that. And Dylan has his scheduled for him. Joe schedules his own. So it's not that it's not efficient. He does what he does. But Jesse gets the potential clients to out, and then if she knows it's a hard no because no one's going to fly to that area or can't, or they don't want to, their schedule's too full, or we're too full in a Michigan trip, and Joe can't take them, whatever it might be. We have Kevin more for the East Coast, more New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio. Joe is more Eastern, Wisconsin, Michigan, Indiana, Illinois. Dylan is more Wisconsin, Minnesota, and he'll fly to some. He gets over to Pennsylvania every once in a while. Maybe a little down into Iowa, Illinois. Joe will get into Illinois too. So you have some overlapping areas. West is more Minnesota, Iowa, this side of Wisconsin, western Wisconsin. But bottom line is Jessie fields all those to where they need to go, and then she'll follow up.
Yep.
Follow up with Kevin or whoever. Hey, how's that client? And if a client sends something in and they don't get to Kevin, they'll go to Jessie. And then any of our partner inquiries that come through, any kind of questions, people that want to be seed dealers, they go through Jessie, and then she gets them out to the right people. And then Jessie also sends out all her hats. She works with our printing company, Evans Printing in Sparta, to print the books and get those out so that the people that order those books and get them on time, and we always have a supply. So hats, books, scheduling, all the emails, web classes, shipping out for web classes, questions, and then she'll do random email things like when we had our Quiet Cat promotion. She made sure that she has email lists that go back for the last 3 years clients, the last 2 years clients, last 4 years clients, and she can send out various offers that we have and make sure they get to the right place. So she does a lot.
She sure does.
And that kind of brings into a lot of those questions she gets, because the seed company is a big portion of what we do, go to Wes. And so Wes, it's kind of like, we don't have a real hierarchy other than, Wes answers to Jen. That's kind of how that goes. Or me. Wes has got a couple different bosses in a way, but you primarily work with Wes. But tell the folks what Wes does on a daily basis.
So Wes was my sales manager at the dealership for 7, I don't even know how long I was there. I think 7 years. Let's just say 7 years. So he was my sales manager there, and Wes and I had always had a great relationship. So when I jumped ship over here, it was always one of those things where like, let's try to figure out how to bring Wes here.
Yeah.
And
he was on the list for, man, if we could ever hire someone, for something, let's see if we can get Wes.
And so
there's probably a couple more there too.
There are, but
there's a couple more, if we could ever take them. But sorry, Rod.
Yeah, sorry about that. But so day-to-day basis, we could go from anywhere from 1 bag of seed to hundreds of bags of seed. So Wes prints all these orders out, prints all the shipping labels, and then he boxes them. And sometimes his daughter wants to hang out with him, which is nice. And
Yeah.
I tell him to enjoy those moments because she is almost 16 years
Well,
old.
and son.
Yeah.
Son is up here sometimes
Yeah,
too.
Deacon wants to be up here
Yeah.
with Dad. Jolie goes in spurts, I think, sometimes about, yeah, I want to hang out with Dad today. And then, like, no, Dad, I'm busy.
Yeah.
So he boxes all the seed and he answers all those comments. And there's times where he's here,
And he's on the phone sometimes.
emails. And there's oftentimes he's here from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. or later. So he pulls a marathon day, especially in our busy time. And then he's helping me, turn the hose on, turn the hose off when I'm spraying or doing other stuff and popping the door open when I come back. So there's so many things that, that he does for us. He's on the property. He's fixing stuff for us. Look at our pumps on our sprayers.
Well,
last year. He
he's
replaced those.
putting water in the water holes.
Yeah.
He'll go out and change batteries and cameras if we ask him to. He'll do anything. But a lot of spraying. He spread all our fertilizer last year.
Yeah.
Cone-shaped broadcaster on the tractor. So he's kind of like
Helped us plant.
he put a new trailer jack on
on our new trailer.
our new trailer. So he'll do things like that. He fixed the bed of the Ranger, straightened it out from so much water being in there, and braced it and made it better. And he'll do things like that. So he put tracks back on the Kubota.
Yeah. Well,
Did he make the track go off?
he made the track go off on the Ranger and so he had to fix that in the field, which he did fine, and then he put the track back on for us when we took it off in the Kubota.
He built the roofs. He's a carpenter.
Yeah.
So this stuff in here, he built this whole rack and hanger area for all our clothes, all our First Light clothes. So they're right here. And he also built our roofs for our archery targets. All our morel targets are all now covered, so they last longer. Please, folks, do that, because what happens with those morel targets or any of those bag type targets, water gets in, it freezes, expands, thaws. That's not a good thing. And so I've had a morel outdoor target, one that I picked up from one of the archery tournaments I went to. I think it was a Cabela's tournament way back in the day. It's dating me, probably 2000, 2001. And I bought that because it was a used range target. And that's what they did. They sold them for $100, at the end of the shoot. So then I took that morel home, and I had that for the next 8-9 years on the property, and put a roof over it right away.
Yeah.
And kept shooting into it, thousands and thousands of arrows.
What did we met the brother of the owner of Morel Targets at the ATA.
Sure.
And he was telling us he had this target that he had been shooting at for like almost 20 years.
Yeah.
And it was at his sister's house, remember? And
That's
thousands
funny.
of arrows went through this, and it was getting a little tattered.
Yeah. Probably looked right. You needed a new cover.
Yeah, I think
the
that's
guts are
maybe
probably
even,
good. And
what he said, but he said it was a great target. Well, his sister, classic sisters, it seems so, but going through stuff and like sees this old ratty target, and she's like, "What is this thing?" Throws it away or burns it. Oh no, she was burning it.
Yeah,
she's having this big burn fire or this burn party, let's call it. And he comes there and he's like, "What are you doing?" And he like looks in the fire. He's like, "You burned my target," and it was almost like an experiment for him.
Yeah,
through morale targets, and it was supposed to be like
see how long
20 years or whatever.
Yeah, he's gonna have a hard time duplicating those years.
Yeah, I think so. And it was pretty funny, but yeah, take care of your targets.
So, and that's where again, we start thinking about he's leveled portions of our driveway. I mean, he's brought a skid loader in to get boxes off the truck. I mean, there's a lot of
brought it in
Wesisms.
to get the rednecks off the trailer for us.
And then he goes to clients too. Yeah. And so he's a big hunter, big food plotter. That's his background, along with farming. He just loves to be outside and hunt. And so has a family farm he hunts on with family. It's a big family thing for opening day of gun season, let alone he loves to bow hunt. Mm-hmm. Now his son Deacon shot his first deer last year, a doe.
Yeah.
Which was really cool, like 150 yards or something. 100 to 150 made like
yards.
A perfect shot. And
he's like, he kept saying, "Dad, I can't believe this is happening."
Yeah, is this really happening?
Yeah, is this really happening?
Yeah,
which is so cool. Makes you a little emotional. You love.
The point is, we know our people personally. We're that size company. We care about them deeply.
We say personally, like these people are like part of our family.
Oh yeah, when we
You
have
know?
family get-togethers, they're at the house. I
Right.
mean, they're. But anyways, Taran, Taran's someone we don't get to see very often,
No.
and but he's been behind the scenes for a long time, and a lot of you probably wouldn't know Taran, but Taran and his wife Brooke do all our YouTube numbers, so we pay them a fee. And it was interesting. There's a favorite client that I've had, one of my favorites. I've had a lot of favorites, and he's up there. Corey's his name. Successful businessman, Iowa, Kansas, Nebraska, over in that area. And Corey, I just called him. I said, I could really use some help with. It was funny. He was calling me to ask, hey, if you need any help in something, and it was kind of like a mutual phone call. And Taran and I'd already met because he worked in the hunting industry, and I'd met Taran a couple times at the old Matthews trade show they'd have in the Wisconsin Dells. So I knew Taran before that point, but Taran, he puts all our YouTube numbers together. He for every YouTube video I've ever shot, and there's like 1,400 now, and counting, and Instagram too, reels. He keeps track of those for a 2-month period when they first go out. But we know all the products and manufacturers that are in every video that we've ever shot, going back to the beginning, so that when we talk to partners, we can say we gave you 9 million views last year, and it's 9,872,342 views. It's right down. We're not talking impressions. We're talking about just views, and we average 20 to 40 impressions with a certain product within a certain video, and we don't keep tab of those, but we just keep, okay, it was in there for a few seconds in that video. It could be 50 times, it could be 5 times within that video, but it's in there. He keeps track of all those. So we have spreadsheets. It's also when you go to potential partners, we can say, this is how many times we've shown arrows or broadheads or boots or optics or bows, whatever it might be. We know not just by manufacturer, but obviously that relates to a certain product. And so we can talk to potential partners that way. So very, very useful to have Taran, and we've actually had them, I would say, I'm just guessing. I know Taran could correct me, but I want to say it's at least back to 2019 and early 2020, and it could have been before then. So right around there, at
He'll
least
text us when
at
you're
least
around.
5-6 years, something like that, or more. Taran and Brooke. So very important, because if you want to work with partners and sponsors, you're better off giving them too much information and too much contact than too little. And like we said before, you want to work in the hunting industry. Show people what you've done, not what you think you're going to do,
Right.
because everyone thinks they're going to do something, because everyone has the next biggest, greatest idea, and it's going to be huge. Instead, these are my numbers. This is what I've done. Have them partner with you based on those, because then if you're expanding, it only gets better. And again, you have to keep evolving. It doesn't matter if it's our seed blend or the business. That's why we're doing this.
But with Taran, we kind of are, if you look at it, because before he was just doing YouTube, and now
Yeah.
he is moving on over to do Instagram as well.
And shorts.
Yeah,
And he's keeping
shorts.
track
Forgot
of
about
shorts
that.
too. So
So there.
and what we're showing in shorts, and
So with everything, we gotta keep. We can't be stagnant. We gotta keep going with everything else.
right. It's not reinventing the wheel; it's improving.
Right.
So it's really critical, and that's Taran's a big part of that, behind the scenes, and then that gets us down to Dylan and the guys, and we'll talk about Dylan, because Dylan, I could have put Dylan first, but these are in no order other than I figured Jay, Jen, Jesse. And I thought, oh, Wes. It's kind of like there's no order to this, guys.
I
It was
think there was
not order of importance.
for sure. Jen and Jesse, we are the females, and we are the most important.
Yes, exactly. We'll chalk it up to, we are shooting this podcast right now when our son Jackson is hopefully still sleeping. Set the alarm for 6:30. It was Super Bowl Sunday and my birthday yesterday, so it wasn't even late night. I mean, Super Bowl Sunday, our big party was we cooked a Papa Murphy's pizza, and Jen made my favorite birthday dish long term. I mean, this is going back to when I was 10, 11, 12, but banana cream pie and my mom's homemade recipe. So
Real good.
with real whipped cream, where you just add the sugar and whip it. And
Mm-hmm.
so that was what we had yesterday. And no party, no booze, nothing.
Oh,
That was
other than the game went into overtime, so
yeah,
we
we're
stayed
like,
up later.
I remember like leaning like, oh man, and we wanted to see who won. But anyways, early night for us, but we got up and we needed to shoot this podcast because Dylan's going to be here at 10 today, and he expects this one. So we have 3 in the bank right now.
Yeah. You go on
The
your
second
client
video
trip.
one will come out on Thursday. Go on a client trip on this Thursday. I'll be back before you guys even see this, but I'll have my client trip in Michigan. I'm seeing either 6 or 7 clients in either 7 or 8 days. On my day off, I try to meet with the HuntWise crew in Grand Rapids, so we have a day of stuff there, meetings with HuntWise, maybe some videos. We've done that a lot, on, a couple dozen times it seems like over the years. It's my 4th year working with them, so can't wait to see the guys there at
Don't forget
HuntWise.
about Jack.
Oh well, Jack and Mike.
Yeah.
So Mike even said because I'm going to be in Lapeer and Marshall, and Lapeer for half the trip, day off, I moved down to Marshall and hit Grand Rapids and HuntWise in between.
Mm-hmm.
So Jack Turner from Family Traditions, one of my close friends. In fact, he'll be in the wedding,
So am
and
I.
and so will Mike. But I'll see both of them on the trip, and have dinner with them.
That's always nice when you can do that, though. It's a little break in your,
Yeah.
the kind of your trip, something that you really
Yeah, something to look forward to.
to.
Yeah, in Michigan.
Yeah.
So, but that's we'll do that. Come back, and so we need to shoot these out ahead of time. And Dylan editing everything. Now my shorts, not the shorts I'm wearing right now, but
Yeah, we're back to that outfit.
but shorts, YouTube shorts. I edit. So far, I've edited most of those. I put out one that Dylan edited, and we have a bank that Dylan edits so that when I'm on a client trip, I can actually keep up on those. And Jen knows how much I hate to get behind on stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I love putting the shorts out because it's something I can do at dinner at night. And people think, well, you're not taking a break from Whitetail, but that's just my life. What was I doing for a couple hours yesterday morning on my birthday at the hotel room? Jen and I got away, went out to a place where we like to stay, a couple hours away from home, went to dinner there. Favorite place to go to dinner, and then
You worked on your YouTube video in the morning, which is
Yeah.
just that your birthday falls on a Sunday, and that's a day a video falls on. So
Yeah.
you do it. But with Dylan helping you with those shorts, like having that bank when you're on your
Oh my
client
gosh.
trip, will help so much. Because even last time we talked about you getting back to the hotel so late,
yeah,
and you're just exhausted. So when Dylan is able to help and have a bank of those, it's truly invaluable.
and the shorts take me about an hour to put together with editing time and everything, so it saves that complete time. And where a normal long video, the thumbnail takes me an average of a half hour to 45 minutes to create. I create those every single day. The description, tag words, and getting the link in the description for anything pertinent that I'm talking about, and putting it in the right category, and then getting it out on YouTube, uploading it, and then answering the first 10 comments that come out, or however many I can that day. It takes an hour, hour and a half.
But
And
that's
so
an
every day
ongoing
it's
thing.
something.
That's an ongoing.
Well, it's
thing,
every single
though.
day. I haven't
Well,
missed one since 2019. Every day for longs is 4 days a week, and then we're doing shorts in between.
But what I mean by that is, so every day, throughout the day, you're constantly answering comments and
Yeah.
being present on the channel.
Yeah, and how often do you look at me like, she'll say, "What are you doing on your phone?" I'm like, "I'm just answering comments." Like, what am I actually?
He never does anything else, it seems like, other than answer comments and
Yeah.
watch the Instagram videos that I send him when I tell him to, hey, look at this funny video I sent you. But
Yeah.
that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah. Sometimes I get fun time on the phone, but
Not very often. It seems.
not very often. But Dylan is all the editing, videos. We shoot a certain number of videos for Tacticam that we owe them every month. Camso, we owe them several a year. Any other kind of partner work, Dylan will put that together for him or send out B-roll that's needed. But he edits all the videos. And so web class videos, YouTube videos, some shorts now,
Mm-hmm.
and partner videos. And then Dylan does his own stuff. And
Yeah.
Dylan also, like Joe, Kevin, and Wes, Dylan went to the most clients out
Yeah.
of everybody last year. I think he might have even beat me, or we were right around the same, Dylan and I.
Yeah, I don't
So
remember.
we were right around pretty equal.
It seemed like Dylan was on the road so much last year.
Well, he goes hunting a lot
I
too.
know
He'll
he
go hunting by
does.
himself, public land,
Yeah.
with friends. He travels like he'll do it's a giant like car show or something convention down in
Yeah.
Florida. He
Which
does
is
every
really
year.
neat, though.
He does multiple things like that through that organization, and then works for different hunting industry manufacturers too. So he's got his own stuff going on, and then he does this. In fact, he'll be at here at 10 a.m. this morning. So
Mm-hmm.
we film together roughly 50 days a year. I would say more like 40 days a year. And then when you count hunting in there, he's here another 20 days because of that, because we're staying an extra night and going to dinner. And then, so Dylan, we have a Dylan's room here. Like
Yeah.
he knows that we have two spare bedrooms, soon to be one because of our daughter Lily coming. But which is awesome. And but Dylan will have, he knows the spare bedroom. He knows just to put his stuff in there. That's his area.
Mm-hmm.
Jax calls Dylan Uncle Dylan.
I was going to say that it's a very important role.
Yeah, we
Uncle
have.
D.
Yeah, Mike, our friend, is here for lengths of period of time, um, several times a year,
Mm-hmm.
and so we have an Uncle Mike, an Uncle D,
Mm-hmm.
and we have a lot of uncles, but those two are the ones that are over coming over a lot,
Yeah.
and just those people that are in Jack's life that
And he
are
gets so
around so much, you
excited.
call him Uncle.
Yeah, he says Uncle Dylan now. Yeah, he says Uncle Dylan now.
Yeah,
So
he
that's
gets so
pretty
excited
cute.
when he's coming.
Oh, he does too.
Yeah, waits for his Uncle D.
Mm-hmm.
And but Dylan, you know, Dylan and I hired him in 2016. Some of you might have heard the story, but 2 years earlier, he had graduated from Stevens Point with a wildlife management degree, and he sent me a letter and just wanted to know if we were hiring and how to get into the hunting industry. And I actually sent him a big email back, and a lot of times I don't do that, so it's kind of weird because I just don't have time, and I probably spent an hour and a half writing him back. And what I encouraged him to do is learn how to write, which he already did, learn how to speak in public, learn how to teach, hone your craft, get good at it, and then get into the hunting industry when you have something to offer. And he actually worked in a deer enclosure and was a guide. And
Was
the
that in
date,
Idaho?
no, I was, well, he worked out there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Okay.
worked out in Grass Project. I remember because one of the guys he worked with got bit by a rattlesnake. They had quite a few rattlesnakes out
Ugh.
there. And
No
but then he
thanks.
worked in the deer enclosure in Wisconsin
Yeah.
with
Yeah, you're
Shorty.
right. Yeah, I remember that.
Day-to-day operations plus guiding. He did that for maybe a year and a half, and then he met the Breaking Point guys. They got him into filming, part of the business, and then it got to a point where he could come work for us and make 3 or 4 times more as far as going to clients and really be in control of his own destiny instead of being controlled by others. So that worked out and do his own thing, and it was a real positive thing for Dylan. In fact, as a friend, it was awesome to see his real close friends, his true friends, really love seeing him make that
Mm-hmm.
improvement too. That was pretty awesome. So it's something that you'd feel good for.
Yeah.
So it was kind of good to see. We enjoyed watching Dylan be able to take that jump. But really, that was May of 2016. Hired Dylan full time, and then within a year and a half, he's out on his own enough that he became an independent contractor. At first, I thought, man, what am I going to do? Who am I going to hire? I interviewed Zach from the Hunting Public. He was at that time Midwest Whitetail. Also, Eric Barber, who works for Vortex. And I'm going to leave off some names here, but I interviewed a few more people too. Aaron Avestris, he was someone else I interviewed. But anyways, I interviewed these people because I wanted to replace Dylan. Found there's no replacement for Dylan, especially with the speed and efficiency we work, and it was easier just to hire him as an independent contractor. And I think I had to pay him a little bit more, but it was pretty close. But
Sure.
you know, so Dylan and I have worked a lot together for a long, long time. We're going on our, this will be 8 years, or I can't even think. It's been about 8 years now. So pretty crazy to think about that.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, because last year was your seventh hunting season.
seventh hunting
Yeah, and
season.
this year, 2024, will be number 8.
Yeah.
Wow. Right?
Well, that's our last year was our eighth hunting season. 16, 17, 18, 19. That's 4. And
Oh,
then
so this year
20,
will be your
21,
ninth. This year
22,
will be your ninth.
23.
Oof.
Yeah, this will be our ninth hunting season together. Time goes by.
Yeah, but you guys always take your cute little selfie first.
Yeah, for opening day. We need to collect all those sometimes. But anyways, that kind of morphed into Dylan started going to clients somewhere around 2017, 18. I think maybe even towards the end of 16, he went to his first client where we had a 4-day client up in Wisconsin. He worked there for the first 2 days. I went up there for the second 2 days, helped draw it out, and put it all together with him and communicate it to the client too. So that was, I think, Dylan's first experience. And then from there, he's gone to over 300 now. And I'm sure this year he's probably going to pass 400. And so there's a lot of consultants, whitetail consultants, so call themselves consultants, even some big names out there that might go to 15, 20, 25 a year at the most. I know one they'll charge $10,000 to go, but again they have 3 days per client or 4. Well, we're working with a lot more people, and our daily fee might be higher, but that's times a lot more clients we can fit into a certain number of days, as opposed to charging a lot, not being able to go to very many, but we have to have a day of prep time, travel, a day of travel there, a day of travel back because we're charging so much.
Yeah, but with that, we talk about, or I should say, you talk about honing your craft all the time, learning. You have to be in the
Right.
field to learn. Look at how much you're learning in the field, whether it's you,
Yeah.
Dylan, Kevin, Joe, Wes. You learn so much more by
Well,
seeing all these clients.
you'll have to, one of the things with clients, and you guys won't be able to see this, but I have something here, I call it blog thoughts, and I've been keeping this for over 10 years. But I doubt this will show up. I'll have Dylan go through B-roll, but literally these are all bullet points of things mostly in the field. And I'll say, you know what, I want to make a video about that. And it's kind of like in between client trips, this is still going. But in between client trips, it's almost like, man, I don't have as many ideas because when I'm on client properties, that's when I'll come up with 2 or 3 a day. Again, always learning, always honing the craft. And so that's transferred into Joe, Kevin, Wes, and of course Dylan. We have a set way of things we do. And Jen is exposed to the concepts all the time. They're the concepts I wrote about in my first book in 2012. They're my own concepts and how I see deer relate to each other and people that apply to anywhere whitetail roams. I hunt the same way on public land as I do on private land. People say, well, you don't have food plots, you don't have water holes. Well, you're still hunting food sources, you're still hunting bedding areas, you're still identifying aim and PM stands, access, getting in and out without spooking deer, worrying about other hunters and people and their pressure, no different than if you had a neighbor on the line. It is no different. The habitat changes, but the structure of hunting and land development and management never does. So when you look at it that way, you can easily transfer that to any property of whitetail roams, and that's where the guys go out and they follow the concepts, and that's why we go to so many clients. Over 300 this year, compared to other people who go to 25, 15, and again, you don't learn that much. So if I charge a lot, have a lot fewer clients, then I don't learn as much, even though I might make the same amount of money. And if you're never learning, you want to keep learning every time you go. So those guys follow the concepts. Part of those concepts is we have to draw a plan the day of the visit. We have to go over that with a client. I can guarantee you, as someone who does this professionally at the highest level in the country, it doesn't get any clearer on a client property if you look at it 3 weeks from now. It jumbles in with everything else that's in your head. And you can look at that. I can remember that property that I drew out years later. I still remember the first property that I drew and where I was sitting at the table with graph paper, pencils, and ruler back in '05 in the eastern side of the UP. Still remember details of that property. But that doesn't mean that I could just go look at the details and then put it together 3 weeks later. It has to be that day. And you have to get excited about it. You have to show the client, this is how it fits together while we're there. Remember that stand? I numbered it. Stand number 13 on the design. Remember that? That's that big oak tree right in the northeast corner, and that's why we can go over that at the end of the day. It's critical. It's critical. So we do that, and then at the same time, it's not just here's a plan, see you later. It's here's a plan. Now let's go through all the colors. So it takes about an hour to an hour and a half to drop the plan, depending on the size of the property. And Jen's been to visits, so she's seen all that. She sat next to me in the truck and watched this happen. But and then we go over it for an average of an hour to an hour and a half on recording, and I insist that people record it. I don't remember the last time someone said, "No, I'll just take notes." No, you're going to record it on your phone too. Here's a free app that I see a lot of people use, and it's not going to cost you any money. I have no association with it. You need to record it because the recording takes up very little space on the phone, and you can email it, you can save it forever, as opposed to a video from the phone. I can't tell you how many people's phones. Oh, I have lots of memory. You don't have enough memory for an hour and a half video.
Or longer.
And all of a sudden it's gone, didn't save, and we can't recreate that. So phone, I have people bring video cameras and the card will run out or it wasn't recording. Phone, voice recording works so well. And then if they're taking notes on the side, that's awesome too. Mm-hmm. But it's a complete picture for that day based on the concepts. And so the guys have gone through training, they've gone through different properties, all been to multiple many properties with me where we can actually go through these steps and everything falls in logically then if you look at it that way. And then that process, those concepts are continually being honed. For example, buck, doe, bedding, and layering versus food. Food, doe bedding, younger bucks, older bucks, if you have enough space left over. In rich ag areas where there's not a lot of cover, that can take place over a 150-yard area from food to mature buck bedding because they just don't have a lot of space. Wilderness area like the UP of Michigan where I have my property up there, that might be 3/4 of a mile. Where a buck lives back here and he travels 3/4 of a mile to his afternoon food source every single day. And that space widens when you have fewer deer, more cover. And deer are used to moving all over. Pressure throws that in. And if they have cover they can go to, they go even deeper if there's pressure applied. So all those concepts continually get honed and transferred to the guys. And so they're awesome to have. Printed the first books in 2012. That was a big gamble. It was a big risk. I didn't have a lot of money. I didn't want to commit to a lot of books, but they were really nice. And I said, what do I do? What do we do if we print 1,000 books? What's the price? What about 500? What about 100? So when we talked to them enough, they said, well, we'll print 500. And it just, the amount at that time was sickening to me and that risk. And, they went out Labor Day in 2012. I was at a Labor Day softball tournament down in Stoddard, Wisconsin with my friends, Old Farts League. And I didn't have a lot of service. My phone was in the car. And remember playing all day and went back there and there was like 40 sales. And that was huge to me. That was a lot of sales. I was hoping there'd be a sale or two. And to have 40 in that first, I needed to sell like 130 books, 120 books to break even on the 500. And I had 400 sold in the first month. And so it really ordered another 500 right away. And it was, from that time on, it wasn't like this huge windfall, but it was a windfall at that time to me. And it, eliminated that risk. So Evans Printing, they've always been, and as loyalty goes, we're still with them today since 2012. So we're going on 12 years together. Our web folks, they helped redesign our website back in, it was the same year that I started the First Light contract. So that was 2020, in the spring of 2020. So Rachel and Dave, same people. We've upgraded since then. We've added the seed site, and we continue to work with them on all our projects that we do. And then Joel and the seed company, when we had problems with our previous supplier and pricing and just being taken advantage of, we talk about that. Sending out orders 10 days late, 7 days late, 5 days late, and then we found out we could get better bagging and 1/3 the price on our seed. We decided to take control of that and
And
that
just to
entire
throw
process.
something in about Joel, he will call and or shoot an email, especially during our busy time of the year, and he'll go, "Oh, hey, do you want me to swing in and help box seed today?" So he's so helpful.
Or on Saturday night.
Yeah.
He was emailing Saturday night. This last Saturday with
I
seed questions,
Well,
and
I emailed him and I said, "Don't respond to this
we do that all
email.
the time.
Please don't respond to this email. This is just my time that I have to work on this now." And of course,
Right.
like he emails all weekend.
And we talk about, we interviewed Lacrosse Seed, Deer Creek Seed, because those are both big seed suppliers to a lot of smaller seed companies. I don't see us ever being one of those
No.
because they work with 50 different wildlife seed and turf industry, everything. But
Wow.
Joel was with Deer Creek for about 20 years, and he did all their projections. We felt more at home with Deer Creek. Like you said, Joel came to our house, worked on our kitchen table, which was
It was a
awesome.
small family business.
Yeah, and he made it feel small family. Been owned by the same family for however many years Deer Creek was owned. And Lacrosse seemed more corporate. They were really nice to us. They opened our eyes up. They taught us some things, which is we're really grateful for. When it came down to it, we felt more comfortable working with Joel and Deer Creek. And then Lacrosse bought Deer Creek, and they did that a year ago. So we
Mm.
started the business, went through all the transition, and then all of a sudden, Joel,
Our cheerleader is leaving, and we're like, "Oh, we got to go with you."
yeah, so we just followed him. And
Yeah.
so we have a new supplier, and the bottom line is everything goes through Joel. They kept pricing the same, bagging. They even bought a bagger. We were their first big wildlife customer there in the turf industry. So then, since then, they've really absorbed a lot of other customers that didn't like the big corporate world, and owned by a worldwide seed company, and said, people like us and generally in the hunting industry like dealing with more small family businesses, and that's why we are loyal. I've talked about that with products.
Yeah, we should.
If it's high quality, why would I ever switch? And I'm not going to switch for money. When we switched from Exodus trail cams to Tacticam, of course there's money involved. There's money involved when I was with Exodus, but the bottom line is it was innovation, people, friends, friend group, and even then it took 2 years. Even though I knew these people personally, and Jen had been friends with them for years longer, there was so much more that went into it. Just like changing from Sitka to First Light, we're loyal, and so we plan on working with Joel until he retires. So he's probably at that stage. He's been, I don't know if he's 25 years in or
I
close
don't
to
know.
close to 30 years in the seed
He just
industry, whatever
doesn't
he is.
seem like the kind of guy who's going to retire anytime soon.
No, he enjoys what he does, and I
Loves
think he
his
enjoys
he
people.
loves his work. I
So
agree.
very critical. And then graphic design. We have a good graphic designer that we use for digitizing our logo, like the Pure Wildlife blends from WHS, and we want to have separate companies but similar. And so we have that leaf, and the graphic design people have been
They work on stuff for our website for the seed stuff too.
right. Yeah, and make sure things are digitized so that we can get logos and branding
They work
and
on hats
yeah.
and
Oh
stuff
yeah,
like
they
that.
do hat design, and
Right.
so yeah, it takes a team, folks. And I never thought it'd get this big. And like I said, I was pretty solo in through about 2013, 2014, where it was all on my own for those first 9 years, 10 years, and there were some lean times. There were times where, and that's where I take exception. Even the previous seed supplier, so much experience, so much went into those blends. My experience, my expertise that I gained from working and experimenting, writing in quality whitetails for the QDMA, so many different seed articles, Michigan Out of Door, speaking about it on my own dime, teaching others, and so much heartache went into that. A lot of people. There were times, and I'll admit this. I can remember 2010, living in an apartment in the UP of Michigan in Munising. My kids lived up there, and Jen knows the story, but I'd have like $26 for the budget or $30 for groceries for the month, and that meant and I had to feed the kids when they came over and give them something. So there was a lot of ramen noodles, macaroni and cheese,
Peanut butter sandwiches.
peanut butter sandwiches and bread, tuna fish, milk. I tried to think out soup, grilled cheese. I can remember Sam at that age. Sam was we would have been 5 then, but I can remember even earlier than that when he was probably like 4. It was so funny because I'd give him a grilled cheese sandwich and I accidentally burned the other half, and it's kind of like I don't really have any more bread to redo this. And I don't want to throw it away. It's, we're living
Smart.
on lean times here. And so I just give it to him with the black side flipped down. And I can remember him, like, Jake and Autumn knew it. I tell you that story.
Oh yeah.
And so Sam, he's like all happy. We're all in a good mood. And we're at our little table there. And Jake and Autumn are watching him, and he bites it, and he just looks at me, and he's got like black crust on his lips from the burnt grilled cheese. But hey, I couldn't like that was a sandwich. I was gonna
Sorry,
like
Sam.
redo the slice of cheese, and he ate it right up like it was no big deal,
Oh, that's
and it was always and those were some lean times. I can remember like I'd get a client and get two or three clients and just seem like a deposit would come through and man, now I have time, some for some gas. I'd stick some gas aside and a motel fee to actually go somewhere. And that's why even in the some of those years back then, we were coming from the UP to hunt down here to Wisconsin. There's a lot of times, and I get sick of people saying, well, you can't, leasing money's for the rich people. That was the only way I could hunt private land. And so the buying land is for the rich people, for the people that are very fortunate. When you're leasing land, you have to do that because you can't afford to buy land. And I did the cost analysis. You're leasing for, really what the taxes are a year. You don't have 400,000 into the land. You have 3,000 into the land, so you could lease it for that year. Of course, they come and go. But by sharing that lease with other hunters that hunted the land, and sleeping in the truck on the way home in multiple locations because you don't want to die running into something, sleeping at friends on the way back, in a guest area or something on a couch. That's how we made it work. Remember bringing food from home, so you're basically had your lunch. You get there at 4 in the morning after the kids went to bed, sleep in the truck for an hour. I did this out public land hunting in Ohio. Last buck I shot there. We get there, you sleep for an hour, half hour, set the alarm, add a little wind up alarm because then I'd make sure it would go off in the truck. And you get up, and then when you came in from the morning hunt, you'd add food. And then sometimes we'd sit all day, dark to dark during a rut hunt. And we'd have a sandwich on the way back to the hotel. And yeah, it was lean
That's how you had
times.
to make it work.
So the business has grown a lot since then. No one gave me money to start the business. No one gave me some seed money, anything like that. It was built with literally a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and gaining experience along the way. And it's transferred into now. Business always had to succeed because I got to take care of myself and my kids, and now that expands to where we have a family that I have to take care of. Not that I have to. Jen is a capable woman, obviously, but Jen, this is part of her business, and this is what she does. Jackson, Lily, who's on the way, in April, and then I feel a responsibility towards Jesse. I know her and her family and her kids. Wes, his wife, his kids. Taran, his wife, their kids. Dylan, Jera, Kevin, his wife, kids. Joe. He has a baby on the way, and his wife.
And do in March.
And even the printer. They rely on a certain number of books that we buy every year. Maybe they could take us or leave us, I don't know. But bottom line is all these people, Joel and the seed company, I can't fail. We can't fail. And so we have a responsibility, and these are like family to us. And I hope that makes sense. It's kind of built a business based on family and taking care of family, and that's transferred into taking care of a whole lot more people and being responsible, which is why we're doing this and getting up at 6:30 in the morning before Dylan comes and filming this while Jax is still sleeping, so that he's probably awake by now.
I'm sure he is.
Check and see
Yeah,
on the
he's
Google Home here.
yeah, probably up there awake and just ready. However, he had a long day with Nana and Papa. When I
Yeah,
say a long
a long
day,
weekend.
a fun long
Saturday
day
night
with
into
Nana and
tomorrow.
Papa.
or yesterday.
Yeah, so who knows? He
You can hear
potentially
the
is still
feedback on there too.
sleeping. Oh, oh, he's just sitting up there.
Looking around.
Yeah, just like
He's pretty calm for a while. That means
he's playing.
he's probably within 10, 15, 20 minutes of crying. He's pretty good in the morning.
Yeah.
Here,
Here, if y'all can see this, maybe Dylan can zoom in. He's just up there hanging out.
so really quick, I hope that gives you an inside glimpse of us and kind of where we've come from. And of course, there's me. I put me on there. I talk about what I do all the time. It's clients creating all these videos, shorts, YouTubing, marketing the seed, pushing the seed, anything that we work with, doing it in a genuine way to where if we're showing we're using a certain optics or bow, Matthew's bows, whatever, our blinds, we try to work it in within the story. We don't
You're the
have to go out of
glue.
our way. Well, we don't have to go out of our way on anything that we do to make it look like a commercial. I remember someone on the hunting industry, they're saying, like, we like Quiet Cat. We just use them. And so I remember someone in the hunting industry, goes to commercial, and they make up their own little commercial. They're on the Quiet Cat in the yard, and okay, we're getting this Quiet Cat ready. Boy, these things are awesome. We're going to go out some summer scouting right now, and without these Quiet Cats, we wouldn't be where we are today. And then they jump on. It's totally disingenuous. I love Quiet Cat. We love our Quiet Cats and the company. But totally disingenuous. They get on, they wobble a little bit because they're not used to riding the bike, and they go down the road. And it's kind of like, oh my gosh, it's terrible. But when they're only putting 13 or 26 episodes out on an outdoor channel, and that was the only way to bring these products to life to the general public, you have to make it look commercialized. No different than you just won your NASCAR and you're on the car, you're standing up there, I want to thank this, and all these sponsors, you throw them in there. It's a little bit like the hunting industry. We do it more. This is the stuff we're using, this stuff we want to use. I don't care if we're getting paid with it. We want to get paid with it, but if we don't, we're still going to keep using this because we think it's the best. We have to bring it that way, and we put out enough content to do so, and then try to keep up with everything, which is why we're shooting this right now. Do you have a quick mailbag?
Yeah.
Jen's mailbag time.
Jen's mailbag. We should
Yeah.
almost like have like bells and whistles, I think.
I think that was good. Do that.
Presents.
Yeah, do that again. Jen's mailbag. Do
Jen's
that.
mailbag. Is that
Yeah.
what I did?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's good. Wow.
Anyways.
Should do commercial jingles. Anyways, okay. Yeah.
I just bought this new property, whether it's 30 acres, 10 acres, 150, and beyond. What's the first thing that I should do?
Oh boy. Some really good steps there, and this is no different. Look at it this way, if I was hunting public land, I want to find where the major food sources are. I want to figure out a depth where there could be some mature bucks based on those big food sources and where does and fawns bed. Verify that with sign. Little pellets, big pellets, which are there on the ground for a long time on top of the leaves that you can tell for does and fawns, and then single clusters of larger pellets back in where you'd expect buck bedding. Private land, the same thing. You can't just dot food all over your 100 acres because now you pushed off buck bedding. They're not going to bed by those food sources. So you have to, the potential access on the property allows you to get it on and off without spooking deer, determines where your food goes. The food determines where you can access. They both go together. It's critical. That's the structure of deer hunting a private parcel. This is where food's going to go, and browse and apple trees and oaks are not food. That's browse. They're not going to be the food source unless you have a 20-acre orchard and you don't harvest it. You just leave it there, maybe 10 acres, and you take it. And that might be your food source as long as you have apples that drop from sometime in September all the way to January, and they're there consistently the entire time. And you have supporting browse in the woods in the form of hardwood regen briars. Bottom line, those food plots, the structure of how you get on and off the land, and allowing enough depth so that in the average parcel in ag land, you want 200 to 400 yards of depth, meaning that a buck can bed 200 to 400 yards away from that major food source and feel like he's on his own. He's not going to get spooked out by a bunch of does, fawns, young bucks, or people. Mm-hmm. And then you have to have that depth. And if you're over that, it's 700 yards away from that big food source. Now you probably have 200 to 400 yards that are unused and not supported by food. So you got to think about the complexity where all that food goes, how it supports your depth without getting so much food on that you're pushing mature bucks off. That relates to your access. Once you get that structure, now you have afternoon stand locations near food, morning stand locations based on your access, back in on the backside of bedding areas, funnels, drop-offs on ridges that you can sit and not spook deer with your wind. That establishes whole structure. So once you have food and access determined on your land and that structure of possibility, and you're not going to ever spook deer off that food, now you can develop the stand locations. The stand location determine where your mock scrapes go, which is at every stand location. And then not on food, if you have dry areas between bedding and food, that's where water holes go. So switchgrass is used in most areas to screen food plots, your access, hinge cutting and bedding areas. You start filling in. So you'd establish a structure almost like the framework of a blueprint of a house, and then you start filling in and finishing the interior last, and that's the way you
There's
do
your
it.
habitats.
And that's habitat and everything filling in. But the structure of food and access determines
Because if you do
everything.
it backwards, you're wasting a lot.
And that's determined by your neighbor's food, what's going on in your neighbors, where you have swamps, where you can access, where you can't, where you have lakes, ponds, where you can't access steep ridges that you're not going to go up because of you as the client. You know, this client, yeah, they don't care. They're in their 30s and they're fit and they think they're going to be like that for 30 years. So that's what they do. And then we have a client over here, 68, and no different than second floor, master bedroom, bath, and laundry. You don't want that when you're 68 years old. And so we design the property based on the ability of that person too. And they'll even say, well, I want to always use an electric golf cart to get on the property or quiet cat bikes. And then when we determine that, based off that. Or I've had people, I have to use a side by side. Then we'll look at that. You tell us what you're going to do to hunt, how many people, then we start that structure. So then that's where it's a conversation with people for an hour and a half at breakfast and our coffee time in the morning, getting to know them, their abilities, and their resources, and their land.
Which is full circle on sometimes why we just can't have that real quick phone call.
Yeah. It and then at the same time, with the clients and asking them all that information, we have to get it right. That's what we're paid for, and so we have to be accurate. We have to adhere to those concepts, and if you don't have a set of concepts, I don't know how people can actually do it. So, really, really critical, and that's where, we get those kind of questions, and we just can't engage a lot of times, and because we're not being helpful. We're not going to throw stuff out there just to get you to buy something or buy seed. Yeah, you need to buy 10 acres of this seed product. No, we don't care if we can't recommend something. We don't know your land. That's kind of why we do all these videos and put out the free content so you can determine what's best, and then we go from there. But you have to adhere to the access, food, that determines the structure based on depth of cover and the correct amount of depth of cover. And then you start filling in from there. Stand locations, access to stands, mock scrapes go with stands, and then screening and everything else from there. So northern settings, you wouldn't want to use a lot of switchgrass with wolves because they can pounce on a deer, and the deer know that. Where there's a lot of predators, they don't want to have that grass right up next to a small hunting plot because they're just not. They want to have a filtered look, so they can at least see movement 30, 40 yards back. They're really good at picking up movement. So if you have even hinge cutting, but not big logs blocking shrub, briar regen, they'll be able to see in there a little bit, see if something's actually sneaking up on them. So, finally, to everyone's favorite time, and you got to do the little jingle then, we have Jen's Got Jokes.
I think you should do
No, you
that
got to do a little
jingle.
hum. No, it's you.
Yeah, but you're the one who brings it in. Like, Jen's got jokes.
Yeah, you do that again.
Jen's got jokes.
Yeah, see? There it is.
Okay. What do you call an angry carrot?
I don't know.
Steamed veggie, Jeff.
Steamed veggie.
Get it?
Mm-hmm. That's a good one. Hey, didn't you get me a dad joke book? I got a dad
No.
joke book for,
Jackson got you a
Jackson got me a dad joke book yesterday we'll have to open that. We should just keep it right here.
We should, and then I'll just zip through, hit page 52, and then read one off of there.
I want to mention before we get this wrapped up. We got stuff to do. I got to put a short out right now.
You're busy.
Yeah. So we got stuff to do, but episode 21, it's a wrap. Good call. Charity event. We have the charity event. We do that every year. It's for Camp Kicking Bear. Each year we've raised around $20,000 to $25,000 that we hand them a check. Every dollar goes to them, and we spend more on top of that. We have people that really help out with the event. Ashley and Jake provided all the sandwiches last year. Mike and Sue bought coffee. Chad donated a bow for youth, a youth bow, which was awesome. Chad Gerteski with Weiss Realty. And I hate listing people because I'm forgetting. I know Brandon from First Choice always donates to that. So we have a lot of people that give to that. Jack donates stands. All our partners donate. Matthews donates a bow. Lacrosse boots are really big. We every partner, Redneck, Gilly Blind. I'm leaving out people, but every one of our partners we work with, even Big Rock Trees and Shrubs, Tacticam, they all donate to this, and because it's such a good cause, we give everything to people that come. We charge a fee to come. This year it's going to be $200, and we'll do 60 people this year instead of 50. So we want to have more people come to the event, so we cheapened up the price. $200. It's a Saturday of Father's Day. I should know that date, but it starts at 10 a.m. So Saturday of Father's Day. Father's Day is literally the next day. Great event to bring your kids to. We had 43 kids to it last year. That number keeps growing. Camp Kicking Bear is here with their volunteers. And Jen's done this. She's like plays with the kids, but water balloons,
throwing hatchets,
hatchets,
guns,
bows,
bows,
tug of war, throwing
fights.
marshmallow fights, and they color. They do all kinds of stuff. And so if the kids are old enough to come out on the walk with the adults, I don't care if they're 12, 14. If you think they're old enough to come out, then they're free either way. For adults, though, and I hesitate to put a number on adult, but 17, 18, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Let's say if you're still a teenager, you can come for free.
Yeah.
But at some point, whether that's 20, 21, that's where you start non-adult, 19. But bottom line is $200, and we give all of that money to Kicking Bear and host that event. We video it, and we look at a portion of the farm that's realistic. We even look at the weather. Like last year, it's supposed to be rainy, so we stuck closer to home. If it's drier, we get the pickup trucks out. We've had a pickup truck line of 30, 40 vehicles and side-by-sides going out there with people. And so we do that a little bit in the morning around the house, and then we go on our big walk after lunch. Lunch is provided. We have porta potties here. Mike and Sue provided coffee, muffins, bananas in the morning for people when you first get here. So we kind of have a social time for about a half hour, 45 minutes in the morning. Then we go around here, and then we have lunch usually about 11:30, and then by 12:30 we're going out on the property. We come back. There's always question and answer time out on the property every place we go to. Ray gives a really nice talk, Ray Hall from Kicking Bear, and then people stand around and talk, it seems like, for another hour, hour and a half. We give away all the door prizes, which are Matthew's bows. We have a raffle for one of my bows. I give away a bow every year on top of everything else. And so we raffle that off. And then Matthews gives away a bow. Everything else we do. First Light gives away an outfit. Yeah, it's thousands of dollars of product that we give away. How many Tacticam cameras did we give away last year? Was it 10?
I think so.
So it was somewhere around there. But anyways, everyone gives and gives a lot. And it's just for a really good cause. It's all about getting kids in hunting. So we'll start putting more information out about that. You can email Jesse at info@whitetailhabitatsolutions.com. So pretty easy one, info@whitetailhabitatsolutions.com. We'll have more videos about that. I'll put an article on the website with appropriate links and Jesse's email for more information. But she's taking names right now and taking lists. We have a lot of people. We usually have, 120 people, somewhere around there for that event. And it's right here at the farm, and kind of see what we do more on an even more personal level and contribute to an incredible cause. So right now we have to contribute to an incredible cause, which is our son Jackson.
Yes.
And Dylan's coming in about an hour and 15 minutes. I got to put out a YouTube short and have another cup of coffee. So
Yeah.
that's our typical morning and day. We're doing something. So I'll be filming
Seems
with
like
Dylan, and I might even put some pants on later.
I don't know.
You've seen sometimes I have, and I have shorts and knee boots on when
Yeah.
it's summertime
That is
sometimes,
true.
but it's just because we're go, go, go. And then we do like to relax. We get our relaxation time, and we try to have that balance of both. We like to go fishing in Canada. We were there 6 times last year, even if it's just for 3 days. Bear camp with the Tact Cam crew,
Yeah, that was good.
which is fun time. This will be year 3 coming up doing that. Anyways, signing off. Thanks for watching this long, and we really, really appreciate you. You know, our family out there, some of our regular posters, people that have been commenting for many, many years. People even say when I subscribed, you had 3,000 subscribers, and now we're at right around 250. So, in many, many years and a lot of work. So, thank you.